Do you remember the Chevy Nova from back in the day? Well, Chevy brought the name back in the late 1980s, though it didn't last long and wasn't much of a hit. According to Curbside Classic, it wasn't even really a Chevy. It was a rebadged Toyota. Surprised? They did, but the Nova wasn't one of them. This version had just 74 horsepower, making it pretty slow with a 0-60 miles per hour time over 13 seconds. There was a quicker twin-cam Nova, but it wasn't much to look at either. You'd think Chevy would have learned not to mess with a great name, but look at the Blazer crossover today. The fifth-generation Nova, based on the Toyota Corolla, stuck around from 1985 to 1988 before turning into the Geo Prism. The best model was the twin-cam Nova, with 110 horsepower, sport suspension, and disc brakes, but it came with a $2,500 price bump. We all know the early 1970s were tough for the US auto industry. With rising fuel prices and stricter emissions standards, high-performance engines were quickly swapped out for weaker, smog-friendly versions. Chevy's new midsize body design, known as the Colonnade-style body, had a great chassis and suspension. If the original engines had stayed, the Chevelle SS and Laguna S3 could have been some of Chevy's best muscle cars. But that didn't happen. To make things worse, last-minute regulations forced them to add bulky 5-mile-per-hour bumpers, ruining the sleek design. From 1972 to 1976, the Chevelle lineup included the Base Deluxe, mid-range Malibu, and top-tier Laguna. It came standard with a 350 cubic capacity V8 engine, making 145 horsepower, with optional upgrades for more power, including a 454 cubic capacity V8 with 245 horses. By 1974, the Laguna was only available as a Cuppy, and big changes came. The 454 engine was dropped in 1975, and NASCAR star Cale Yarborough's back-to-back Winston Cup wins with the Laguna S3 weren't enough to save the model. The Laguna lasted only 4 years. When rumors spread that Chevy was bringing back the iconic Bel Air name, excitement was in the air. However, when the 2002 Bel Air Concept was unveiled, it left many disappointed. Chevy claimed it was a tribute to the original, but the car's bland design, which awkwardly blended old and new styles, just didn't live up to the Bel Air legacy. Sure, the interior tried to nod to the past with a retro steering wheel and 80s-inspired instrument cluster, but it wasn't enough. There were a couple of cool features though, like the hidden gas cap behind a taillight and the 3.5-liter straight-5 engine. Still, it wasn't the revival fans had hoped for. Unless Chevy comes up with something truly worthy of the Bel Air name, it's probably best to leave it in the past. The original Bel Air, launched in 1950, was a game-changer with its sleek hardtop design that combined the feel of a convertible with the practicality of a Cuppet. It featured standout elements like a V8 engine, power brakes, and steering, which made it a hit back in the day. Many of you, this caught you by surprise. Chevrolet Monza Mirage was the high-performance version of the Monza, Chevy's compact car from the 1970s. While the standard Monza wasn't built for speed, that changed in 1977 with the introduction of the Monza Mirage, inspired by the International Motorsports Association GT race car. Chevrolet didn't build the Mirage directly. Instead, it was designed by the British Overseas Racing Team, BORT, and installed by Michigan Auto Techniques Corporation. Unfortunately, over the years, the Monza Mirage has become quite rare, with only about 30 units rumored to still exist today. The 1977 Chevrolet Monza Mirage featured a spark-ignition 4-stroke engine producing 145 horsepower and 245 pound-feet of torque. It could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 9.9 seconds and had a top speed of 116 miles per hour. Though short-lived, the Monza Mirage remains a unique part of Chevrolet's performance history. We all wish we found this car in the shining days. The Chevy Citation, produced from 1980 to 1985, is one car on the forgotten list that most people can agree deserves to be there. To appeal to a more fuel-conscious America, GM replaced its rear-drive X-body models like the Chevy Nova with the front-drive Citation. It offered decent interior space, but with its lackluster trunk, unappealing looks, and underpowered engines, it didn't leave a lasting impression. Despite being named Motor Trend's 1980 Car of the Year, the Citation was plagued by numerous recalls, which damaged Chevy's reputation, a stain that lingers even today. Meanwhile, other models from the same era, like the Chevy Malibu and Monte Carlo, became cult favorites in the hot rodding community. Though the Citation sold well initially, It suffered from poor reliability and build quality, a common GM issue at the time. The Sportier version, the Citation X11, came with a 2.8-liter V6 that produced 115 horsepower, decent for its size and the era. But even this performance model couldn't save the Citation from fading into obscurity. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's never come across this car's name, but it's definitely worth knowing about. The Chevrolet Yeoman is one of those forgotten gems in Chevy's history. Introduced in 1958 as an entry-level station wagon, it had a short-lived run, lasting just a single year. The Yeoman came in 2- and 4-door versions, with 3 engine options, including a powerful 5.7-liter V8 that delivered 230 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque. It could comfortably seat 6 passengers, but despite these appealing features, it never caught on with buyers. Chevy decided to cut its losses and discontinue the Yeoman after just 1 year on the market. Built with practicality in mind, the Yeoman's interior was all about utility. Vinyl upholstery, rubber mats, and a linoleum cargo area made it easy to clean. It was named after yeomen, the hard-working class, reflecting the car's blue-collar design. The base model came with a straight-6 engine, while more powerful V8 options, including the 348 cubic inch turbo thrust engine, were also available. Priced at around $2,520 for the 2-door model, the Yeoman has since become a rare find, with collectors especially valuing its short production run. Though it was overshadowed by more popular models like the Brookwood and Nomad, the Yeoman holds a special place in Chevrolet's rich wagon history. We all know when it comes to trucks, Chevrolet has a legacy that few can match, and the Suburban is a shining example. First introduced in 1935, the Suburban holds the record for the longest continuously used nameplate in automotive history. Over the years, it has not only been one of GM's most profitable vehicles, but has also helped shape the evolution of truck design. Originally called the Carryall Suburban, this 2-door vehicle featured 3 rows of seats and a modest 60 horsepower engine. Since then, the Suburban has been produced under several nameplates, including Chevrolet, GMC Holden, and Plymouth. Today's Suburban has come a long way, packing a powerful V8 engine and seating up to 9 people. It's available as either a half-ton or a 3/4-ton model with rear wheel or 4-wheel drive, loaded with modern features like a rear vision camera, fold flat 2nd and 3rd row seats, tri-zone automatic climate control, and an 8-inch color touchscreen. Now in its 11th generation, the Suburban continues to thrive, with current models starting at $51,210 and offering 3 trim levels. Believe it or not, at one point, over 50% of the cars on the road were Ford Model Ts. Hard to believe, right? Back then, Chevy wasn't really a big competitor. That is until the Chevy Model 490 showed up. The 490 changed everything. As noted by Automotive News, it had a price tag of just $490, which made it a real contender against the Model T. Sure, that price didn't include electric lights or a starter, which cost an extra $60. But people didn't seem to mind. The 490 was so good and sold so well that Ford had to drop the price of the Model T Touring to $440 just to keep up. And there you have it. That's how the classic Chevy versus Ford rivalry really began. Which car on the list got your attention? Which one would you want to take for a drive? And were there any you didn't know? Let me know in the comments. If you knew all the cars, give me a thumbs up. If not, hit subscribe so we can keep you updated and tap the bell so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.